Hi, I am Dmitro Shvets, your host at the Start Global Insights, where I interview experts in different countries about local business secrets and international expansion experience. Konnichiwa. Watashi no namae wa Dmitro desu. Anata wa Nihon ni tsuite no episodo o kiite masu. So, from my poor Japanese, I hope you understood that we will talk today about Japan. And my guest is an expert from Japan, Satoru Madono. He has more than 40 years of experience in project management and international finance and helping international corporations to enter Japan. He has also an extensive experience in academia, teaching people in university to make business and finance, and a very great supporter of Ukraine. Hi, Satoru. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. It's my pleasure.
My first question is how to name you correct in Japan. Yeah, so I call you Satoru, or Sat, but if we would first met, how it is correct to name you in a polite way?
I think that Sat is fine. Everyone calls me Sat and easier to pronounce.
Is it still so that you should be like very polite and call on the last name, or?
Yeah, in Japan, we call each other by the family name, so that they call me Madono-san or Madono-san.
Mm-hmm.
But Madono sounds like pretty Italian.
Yeah, sounds like not Japanese completely.
Yeah, it sounds like in between McDonald and Madonna. So.
Yeah, but talking about these issues, Japan has a mysterious image. Yeah, so for foreign companies, still it is treated as a very closed and conservative country. From your experience, how would you describe maybe the main differences between Japanese and US or European business cultures?
I think that Japan is regarded as a pretty conservative country and an inward-looking country. And I think that's true. And then because this is an island country, isolated from the rest of the world for a long, long time, especially after the World War II, Japan succeeded in rebuilding and then developed into a huge economy. But that period, Japan didn't have to depend on foreign investment. Try to create its own capital, and then try to avoid that. Try to remove the foreign competitors to come into our market, and then pretty much inward-looking, narrow-minded, anti-foreign investment sentiment has been prevailing over the last 70, 75 years, I think. And Japan's too close to the United States. And the feeling towards America has been pretty much distorted. Okay? And then they had a strong say to Japan, especially in the foreign policy. And then they tried to come into this market, try to purchase Japanese companies, but the Japanese bureaucracy system and then politicians all against that, and then somewhat succeeded. But on account of that, Japan has been becoming slowly losing the competitive edge. That's what happened for the last 40 years. But people's mindset has been deeply pegged into this pretty nationalistic view to that foreign investors. In that sense that we are pretty much conservative. And the economy tried to set up a lot of barriers against foreign investors. A good example is a car market. Now China is the largest car producers, and then second is America, and then Japan is third. Okay, but foreign cars made in USA, made in Germany, their percentage of market share in Japan is less than 10% in total. So Japanese are willing to buy Japanese car.
And this situation is still like that, yeah? So this protectionism of the local market is not changed recently?
I don't think so. It's stupid. But I think when you look at the car market, because of the overwhelming market share of Japanese car producers like Toyota, Honda, Nissan, I think that the dealer network is definitely in favor of those big companies, and the client get the benefit on account of that. And in foreign car producers, they have their own very tiny dealership chain, but because of the size, their costs are high and the prices are high. So that I think, in a sense, it's a sort of a tragedy, both Japanese and foreign investors as well. This is a good sample, I think. I don't think that personally, made in Japan stuff are always superior to the foreigners. But some of the stuff from abroad is so much better. It depends upon the product, and it depends upon the services. But because of this once established, pretty protectionist market, that's very difficult to change. So every time and in everything that when the foreign capital come into this market, it's a huge battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's now we buy Apple and we have our IBM computer, we have Microsoft, but Japan is only one developed economy where IBM mainframe could not achieve 50% market share. Japanese government tried to foster growth, Hitachi, Toshiba, NEC, and Fujitsu, and then they opposed that IBM mainframe system. Of course, mainframe is out of date, but that is example.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that globalization, especially after the collapse of Soviet Union, which is already 30 more years ago, started invading this market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a pretty much difficult market for anyone to come into.
Mm-hmm. So this is in terms of the protection of the market. But if the foreign companies are coming, they do, yeah. So they still sell
Depends
sell
upon
in Japan.
I think it depends upon the product, and it depends on the nature of services, and it depends upon that way of approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then service industry penetration is much easier.
Okay, yeah. So
you look at those Microsoft, and then look at those Apple, and then Google, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, service industry penetrate anyway, and it's difficult to set up barriers like a medical treatment, doctor's business, and things like that. Japan is pretty much notoriously protected, and which I hate, which will cause an enormous problem in dealing with this pandemic treatment. Doctors union always oppose and such things, and then that caused a lot of problems. But because that the standard of sanitation or standard of medical treatment is relatively high, probably one of the highest in the world, death rate and things like that is probably that minimum in the world. But still, we could have better treatment, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is about I think the innovation. Yeah, so the innovation appears where the different cultures or different approaches combined. Yeah, so you mix different people, different approaches, and then you have this innovative solution. If you are in the old situation, then
right.
Okay, but it's still interesting to understand how to approach the Japanese market, yeah, and how to understand how you should behave there to be successful. And you have had a lot of experience with foreign companies that were entering the country, still or despite the protectionism that is from the Japanese government. What are the main mistakes that were done by the foreign companies when they were entering Japan?
It's very difficult to define, but you know that regulation-wise or decree-wise, law-wise, there doesn't seem to exist obstacles to come into this market. But when they come into this market, they recognize, oh, Jesus Christ, this is an unrestricted trade barrier thing, type of thing. And the people's mindset or the labor relations and things like that. and you better know it beforehand. And ultimately, you better have a very good tutor, or you have the local partner, or someone who is teach you how to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know that in any trial, the longer it takes time, the more cost you have to bear. And the best way is to make shortcut in that preparation stage, I think.
So most companies were unprepared and they went alone without local partner. That was the mistake.
Depends upon the cases. In the
Mm-hmm.
case of big company, like an IBM or a big pharmaceutical company, or the car company, nature of business is quality driven in a big company, so that they have a lot of Japanese counterpart in mind, and they've been dealing with for so many years. So that from the very beginning, they set aside a huge amount of money to enter this market,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to hire people on account of the experience. But the most important to succeed is that which type of people you pick up, which type of people has that passion in doing that business with a foreign company.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of thing is very difficult, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then normally U.S. company, that many people used to work who after the bank became the so-called headhunter. And then they say, oh, the most difficult thing is we try to find out the people with business background with the capacity of English. But the good English speaker are not necessarily a good businessman.
True, true.
That sort of thing. So that's really difficult, I think.
And so how
Uh,
it is now with language, and if you would like to make business in Japan, do you need to know Japanese, or it is okay with English?
Well, I think that Japanese language is more important, of course. That the general standard of Japanese command of English is pretty poor, very poor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you can do well in Japanese language, it's better. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and a little English.
So you probably need to find a local partner first that is speaking English and Japanese, of course. So he should be a local one, and then he will proceed with negotiations and with understanding the market.
Yes,
Is it?
and then what's more important in this case is that fellow has a very good understanding of the nature of the business. When you're the pharmaceutical company, nature of the business of pharmaceutical business, or R&D of those creating medicine and things like that.
But if we were talking not about the big business that is willing to be established in Japan, I mean not to open the factory there or hiring people, but just to sell goods for small and medium enterprises that are willing to go to Japan as a market. Yeah. So for example, I had an experience of berries producers. They made packaged berry juice that
Mm-hmm.
they started to sell to Japan. It was very hard for them to get this first sales, but it was still possible. So the small Ukrainian company that managed to do that for Japanese market. And if we are talking about this type of business, so if they would like to enter Japan, what steps would you advise them to do?
Yes, I think that it's a good target. This sort of thing I've heard many, many times, but this is a food business, so that the company have to find out a good agent.
And is it okay just to contact them via internet, like cold calls, or you need to be introduced to establish the connection?
Well, of course, it's better to contact them through someone influential to that company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this
But
personal relation issue is still important.
I think so. I think so. Unfortunately, it's very troublesome for us to do that. But this insider-oriented market is a pretty much insider market.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you know someone like that with such a business record, those that the mutual check has been always going on. That's the most difficult part of any small company to succeed in this company, not limited to Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I became independent, okay, since I left the bank. While
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching at university, I started my own consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but without knowing my past history, they will not meet me.
Mm.
Right? I was the head of product financing of the largest bank, the largest national bank of this country. So that always I called that the number 2 guy of Mitsubishi Corporation, Itochu, and then yet. And they know me. So, but when all of a sudden I got independent, and then when I make approach from the bottom people, they say, oh, Jesus Christ, this son of a bitch, right? And this sort of economy, and which I hate.
Mm-hmm.
But you
So,
have to develop your own network at least. But of
mm-hmm.
course, someone could assist you to that mechanism, to know the mechanism, how to survive.
So
Yeah.
it looks like the country is like an egg, yeah, with very thick outer part. Yeah. So the most difficult thing is to get into the country. Yeah. So when you get in, when you found somebody, then it is much more easier sort of these insiders to go to the market. Yeah. So
That's right. Once you succeeded in getting to the market, it's something like a domino. Depends
Mm-hmm.
upon how you behave.
Mm-hmm.
If once you establish the trust from a trustworthy people, then that it would be the domino. Depends upon how to you move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
And
the
it
initial access is pretty important, I think.
And it is important to do it on a high level of management of some people in big organizations. Yeah, so it is still important, this hierarchical structure in Japan.
That's right. But at the same time, that who is the key person in handling the small business? Okay, of course, that getting to know that the top ranking people may be helpful, but they will retire soon. But you have to find out anyone influential in the working level,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you say that selling that juice, or 1 ton of juice or 2 ton of juice, or how many thousand gallons of juice. It's a small business, and that business is normally carried out by that working level people. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have to know that who is the key person in the working level people.
Mm-hmm.
Important business point is that search for key person. Okay, key persons everywhere. Depends of the nature of the business. Key persons are not necessarily in the top ranking people.
Okay, good. So the key person that is responsible for sales, for example, yeah, in some distributor or dealer.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And especially like in this case of juice business, it's a small business to a big company probably,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then probably that the big juice seller, they do not take this an important transaction. Probably
Mm-hmm.
small company, okay, well, I will start this as an icebreaker, because the juice must be delicious and the quality is high relative to prices, because it's a fast shot to this market. They have to make a discount. And in the small and medium sized trader may say, okay, I better try.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then those dealers dealing with those companies are not a big shot in the sales division, but
Mm-hmm.
very keen in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Icebreaker, but will grow big. With that
Mm-hmm.
kind of mindset, that is a key person in this case.
Mm-hmm.
See, the key person is different, depends upon the transaction.
Okay.
I think that you are right. This is not a target for the big trading company. Okay.
So then you need to go to Japan to find a partner.
Well, I think that's too much for the product you sell. Cost of trip is too high. And probably best way is that you collect those small companies to set up a group of companies to provide commodities to sell in Japan, say in the department store.
Like cluster of some industry.
Yeah. So that so this say months of July and the months of September, there's a Ukrainian product show or thing like that in the department of store, and then the small companies put up their product and send the bulk to Japan and sell in the department store in Tokyo. And see that how those retail shops are running, and that sort of trial may be helpful for them to know.
Because of the difficulties to enter the country, you need to join the forces. If you are, especially if you are small or medium enterprise, then you should be in the cluster and then together enter the country.
There you can see that possible partner. And if the partner is that the Ukrainian origin Japanese or that the Ukrainian living in Japan, that's maybe more helpful.
Okay. But coming back to negotiations, yeah. So I heard a lot of things that you should behave correct on meeting Japanese business. You should be respectful and you should follow some rules or etiquette because if not, then nobody will talk to you. Yeah. So for example, I heard a story: group of companies negotiating with Japanese business, and then there were several people in the room, mostly younger people, and one old guy sitting on a chair in the center of the room. And this old guy was saying nothing, and other younger guys were talking and negotiating. But then at the end of the meeting, the old guy just went out of the room, and it appeared that he was the decision maker. Yeah, so nobody knew that they would need to talk to him, but he didn't speak. Yeah, so he was just listening and then making a decision about this negotiation, and they didn't succeeded in this negotiation. And other stories, how it is for now, what you should know when you are talking to local business, how you should follow the etiquette or some things that American or Western companies not do.
Well, I think that what you say is possible now, but a little out of date.
So the situation changes. Yeah, the younger generation takes the positions. Yeah, and you can freely talk like we are talking now.
Yes, but very slowly. I think in the case of US, I think that depends upon the quality of the business. Depends upon that. Responsibility given to the young chap, they are definitely more active. And in the case of the Silicon Valley, those young chap who just left McKinsey, they are very vocal and try to make money by themselves. And such dynamism, we are in short, unfortunately. Yes. But all the etiquette, I think it is destined to disappear. Things on the way.
I thought so. Yeah, so I thought so that this globalization is influencing all the countries and all over the world. The internet and all that stuff.
But the big problem with respect to Ukraine is probably that the same situation as in the case of the negotiation with the U.S. counterpart in the U.S. I think that everyone does not know much about Ukraine. Okay, and Ukraine as a nation, Ukraine economy as a whole has been with a very shabby track record. Okay, and then no great leap forward, and then no great growth, and always internal struggle. and intervention by oligarchs, and that sort of thing is people's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And under such circumstances and such conditions, it's very difficult to anyone to be exposed to risk.
Yeah,
I
so
think
we need to build the new image, or to show other.
And then under such circumstances, to start new business line with Ukraine is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
They have to persuade those old shot internally,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. And did you have a chance to work with local business associations or chambers of commerce in Japan? How possible it is to use them to enter the market?
I think the best way is to have a tie-up with a local chamber of commerce, right? But if it's too local, the market is too small. The chamber of commerce may be that pretty big city, like a chamber of commerce of Osaka, chamber of commerce of Yokohama, chamber of commerce of Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of is helpful, I think.
And by the way, how does it look like? The whole Japan is more centralized, like you need to go to Tokyo, or as it was before, provinces were like more independent, and each province has own rules, and it is better to understand what province you would enter, or what regions, what city, how it is now.
Well, general trend is urbanization is everywhere in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and the concentration to the bigger city is still going on. So that you better focus on the major big cities and also making use of that tie-up. You already has something I suggested about Kobe. Okay, Kobe happened to be a sister city of Odessa. Okay,
Interesting.
And the Kiev has been at the sister city of Kyoto. Okay, making use of such kind of connection. Okay, and then Tokyo's everywhere. Tokyo has everything. Okay, so and then Tokyo is probably the Tokyo, Yokohama, Kawasaki, Saitama, Chiba. It's a sort of one city, close to 40 million population. So if you do something, you better
concentrate it in Tokyo.
Yeah, and also in the Kansai, Kobe, Osaka.
How different is the culture between people, between regions of Japan?
You don't have to pay attention to that aspect much. Anyway, you are foreigner. It's very difficult to recognize.
Everything will be already different, yeah. in any case, as I know, for example, in terms of United States, yeah, if you are talking about United States, everybody are saying that US is one country, but in fact, this is 50 different states with different people, different cultures, different mentalities, and that's why
US is the federal, United States. And the state has a strong say. But in Japan, Tokyo has a strong say. Okay, local government has been permanently subsidizing money from the central government. Okay, so it's a totally different. It's a one country.
Okay,
Tokyo is a one country, and a pretty much centralized economy.
I have found some stereotypes about Japan. Can we briefly discuss them? How true they are?
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, so Japan's business culture is formal and hierarchical, and it requires respect to seniority.
Well, I think that maybe so, but we are more and more casual.
It is maybe more to governmental segment, yeah, or to big corporations.
I think that framework is yes, but reality has been deteriorating. Big company are not necessarily to respect. Big company is not necessarily prevail, I think. That the end of Soviet Union is a collapse of the smokestack industry. Traditionally, big companies are from this smokestack industries in Japan. and then a lot of smokestacks are destined to be gone. Like in a power company, steel companies still in Japan are very competitive in the world. But the power companies are just bureaucracy, heavy chemical, petrochemical. Chemical companies are still good, but because of their shift to the fine chemical, okay, so that the big company are not necessarily great.
Okay. Then another one. Japanese people are extremely hardworking and loyal to their companies, working there overtime and even dying from overtime and long hours.
I think Japanese people are working inefficiently, not hardworking, I think. Physical workers probably so, but so-called white collars are not so hardworking, I think.
But I've heard this stories when for example a Japanese white collar, he is going to office and then he stays there overtime till the late at night, and then to save the time to go home and back, he stays to sleep in the street to go to the office in the morning.
Not sleep in the street, but yes, I when I was busy, I was in the bank. I could not get back home sometime, but still, I think that time I do not think I was very effective that time. Way of working as a team was very ineffective, and which has to be changed. And I think it is changing. But recently those IT people, their way of working is crazy. Yeah.
24 hours, yes.
I think so.
24/7.
Yeah, and also that you have to also work from home.
Yeah, true. Okay, so the next one is that all decision making is very long in Japan and very consensus and group oriented.
Unfortunately, probably true. And I think that that has been changing, but it's because of the overemployment of white collars, I think. When I was a bank, I was head of project finance. I needed a good section chief, and then the people report to him. And then what I need is that I make report to the president. But actually, in between, there's a deputy president and the board of governors and the board of and the general directors. There's so many people as in between that me and the president, and that's the symbol of inefficiency.
Okay,
and such kind of thing is going to be, I think, revised. I think, but it's changed. And then it's true. It takes time for the people to decide as an organization.
But I think this is the norm of the corporate world in the whole world. So if you have several departments or several heads up above you, and then you still need to decide this how to transmit your message through all this network, yeah. This is the problem of corporate world.
Well, that's right, but still, then we look back at like reading what happened at the Lehman crisis, and then there's a incessant dialogue between the big banks and then Federal Reserve and then the Treasury and DC, and those meetings report is that the top-ranking people have to decide on the spot. And in that sort of pressure, those at the Wall Street bankers had been through. But in Japan, probably any of the bankers could not do that.
Okay, the last one. To understand Japanese businessmen in negotiation, you need to follow the body language and so-called read the air, because the words could be polite and not saying you the real matter of the case.
Well, I think that the politeness does not necessarily in need. I think that the frank and then straightforward is much, much more important. And I think that a lot of people think that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then politeness, you don't have to behave like a diplomat over the business negotiation.
So you actually may be direct and frank in your communication.
I think that, frank and direct communication is much, much more important. And then that is a tool to establish your trust to the people, against the people you have negotiations with. But, and then on account of having the frank and the heated discussions, you could make friends. That's my experience told me.
Mm-hmm. But is it common to have this hidden agenda on the meeting with in Japan? Like saying one thing, then thinking how to use it in your purpose.
Well, it's up to that what sort of responsibility you have.
So it is different situation, depending on person. Yeah, it is not a common case.
It's without giving that mandate, you can suggest the solution set, right? Depends upon the people.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the course of the action when you are familiar to the business, even though your position's low, right?
So how it is if somebody is saying you yes, it is always yes, or it may be to not to offend you and from this politeness to say you yes?
I prefer people say that is truth, frank opinion, frank comment, not the politeness.
Okay.
And then, too polite, it's really something weird.
Thank you. The final question to you with this interview. What would you advise for the newcomers to Japan?
Do
not go to Japan.
Well, I don't know. So many things. But the common advice is eat everything here in Japan. We like people who like our food. And the same to Ukrainian. Ukrainian like foreigners who eat Ukrainian food.
So it is a more hedonistic and gastronomical relationship between people. Yeah. So if you eat local food, then you're okay.
In a sense, yes.
I agree. I actually agree with
question. Yeah, right. And then
yeah. It is one of the biggest associations with Japan. That if you think about Japan, then you think about the food. Good. Thank you a lot for the conversation. I think that one of the next conversations should be devoted to food only. Yeah, to Japanese food.
Okay.
So, thanks a lot.